Johnson & Johnson's new COVID-19 vaccine expected in Georgia just in time for when the state expands its eligibility. More people will be allowed to get vaccinated starting Monday, and that includes teachers. This afternoon, Governor Kemp is going to explain exactly how these new doses will be distributed. Joe Ripley following the latest from the state capitol. And Joe, we're talking about tens of thousands of more doses. What is the governor saying about the impact this is going to have on our state supply?
Well, he certainly likes the timing in all this, Sheba. Good morning to you. The FDA, you'll remember, approved the Johnson & Johnson single-shot vaccine this past weekend. So in a matter of days, Georgians are going to be able to have access to that vaccine starting next week. We do expect to learn more details at 3:30 this afternoon. Georgia's expecting to get another weapon in its arsenal to fight COVID-19. With 83,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine set to arrive next week, the timing couldn't be better. Starting Monday, March 8th, the state will expand its vaccine eligibility to include teachers, school staff, those with developmental disabilities, and their caretakers. Georgia's already getting about 200,000 doses of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines every week. Dr. Frida Fisher, based in Atlanta, says the less stringent storage requirements plus the single-shot dosage of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine should make it easier for folks to get vaccinated.
Especially in underserved communities, in communities where people cannot afford to take off multiple work days, or in populations where they have trouble traveling and getting to vaccination sites.
The state has already administered about 2.1 million vaccines. Health experts are urging people to get whichever vaccine they can because the governor expects Georgia won't be able to keep up with demand just yet, no matter which vaccine you get.
All the vaccines have shown 100% efficacy to prevent from severe disease, hospitalization, ICU, hospitalization, and mortality.
Health experts are targeting 80% of the population to be vaccinated to reach herd immunity. Of course, the Johnson & Johnson rollout starting next week here in Georgia will go a long way in reaching that goal, Sheba.
Absolutely. Joe Ripley, thank you. And this announcement coming on the heels of a new vaccination timeline from President Biden. He says the U.S. will have enough doses for every adult in America by the end of May. That's 2 months earlier than originally expected. And the White House is using the Defense Production Act to create a partnership between Johnson & Johnson and drug company Merck to help produce more vaccines. This after J&J's initial production estimates fell short. And with this third vaccine shipping out, the White House says 18 million doses are going out across the country this week. It is the most yet.